When the basketball season starts and Ian Jackson is way deep in his offensive bag, what number are you going to be cheering for? Let's find out.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, August 30th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there and all the great members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community. Welcome into all of you. It's a crazy Friday. What a bonkers game late at night on Thursday, but here we are. We're doing it. We're still recording and getting out a full Friday show, which, by the way, is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy that fixes tired fast. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. All right, guys, coming up on the show today, we're actually not going to start with football. We did a big, fat, show long 30 minutes worth of breakdown of the game immediately after in a live postcast. So make sure you go check that out. That's also out today, both in the audio format and video, whichever you prefer. Heck, go watch it in both because that's good. So we will talk some more football today, but we're going to save that for segment 2. But just know that if you want to watch solely football, that's where that'll be. Go check it out. But what we are talking about today is Carolina's basketball roster is finalized. Got a suggestion of a weird starting lineup, not from me, from somebody at CBS. Some more football content, new job titles for a couple basketball coaches. Women's basketball is loading up, and we got our first kind of full weekend whip around. Great stuff, and that's going to be great. But seriously, I am still... I'm recording this Thursday or early Friday morning, after the postcast. So my brain is still reeling on what a crazy opening football game that was. Carolina hung on for a 19-17 victory over Minnesota, and just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But we'll get to all of that in a minute. First, I want to talk about Carolina's basketball roster, which has now been finalized. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm actually going to pull up the video of it. I did put it up here, not video, the picture of it. And so let me put that in for you so you can see it. Let me get rid of my name. Bing, bong, boom. There you go. So you can see that whole roster there. The specific things I want to talk about first is, okay, this roster came out on Wednesday. It was finalized. Was it Tuesday? Tuesday. But the big thing here is what's interesting about it is that this makes a ton of sense because it came out the day after all the Zayden High news came out. And so it makes sense why a lot of teams had already finalized their rosters, put them out. Carolina hadn't, but literally the day after the Zayden High news comes out, boom, here we get this. And so the biggest things that we're always looking for when a roster comes out, what I'm looking at is, what are the jersey numbers we didn't know yet? Did anybody get taller? And did anybody gain or lose weight? And all of that kind of stuff. So first off, the jersey numbers for the transfers. Tyzhaun Claude, big fat number 0. Cade Tyson is number 5. Got a lot to live up there too. Both guards and Armando Bacot have worn number 5. And so he's going to have to be a dude. Cade Tyson, it's on you. And then Ven-Allen Lubin rocking that double deuce, number 22. As for the freshmen, James Brown is number 2. Drake Powell, number 9. You remember you can have those now. And Ian Jackson, number 11. We didn't think James Brown would be able to get number 2. That's what he used to be. But a little switcheroo for Elliot Cadeau, too, who goes from 2 back to the number 3 that he wore throughout high school. Cormac Ryan was number 3 last year. And so now you will see Elliot Cadeau rocking Trace. Honestly, as I look at the roster, there's not much movement size-wise. You'll notice that Jalen Washington is up 5 pounds and Jalen Withers is up 5 pounds. I mean, for me, honestly, I can gain and lose 5 pounds just from eating lunch and then going to the bathroom afterwards. So I don't even know how much we actually pay attention to a 5 pound movement, but I mean, it's not nothing. And so there is that. By the way, speaking of Elliot Cadeau, somebody asked me, "Hey Isaac, why is there an ear logo by Elliot Cadeau's name on the roster? Is that?" And somebody posed that on Twitter. Somebody else before I could get to it responded, "Oh, it's because he's deaf in his right ear," which is true. The information about Elliot being deaf in one of his ears came out this offseason, but that's not why it has that logo. Some schools like Carolina and others are actually putting pronunciation guides digitally now to where if you click on that, you can actually hear Jones Angel, the voice of the Tar Heels, pronounce Elliot's name, Elliot Cadeau, in his in Jones's voice or whatever. And so that's why that. And I get it's a little bit confusing because none of the other Tar Heels have one on there, but that's the deal. Perhaps, and then also we get the walk-ons. Elijah Davis, Coach Davis's son, is number 6. He's 6'3", 215-pound guard. He's a senior. Russell Hawkins, wearing number 14. He's a 6'1", 175-pound guard. He's a sophomore. And then John Holbrook, number 15, a 6'8", 230-pound forward, who is a freshman. So you've got 14 total players on the roster because you had 12 scholarships, minus Zayden High, that's 11, plus the 3 walk-on. So there's your 14. And boy, you guys, here's the thing for me. As I look at this, the biggest takeaway, where's the beef? Where's the height? Where's the size? I mean, we knew we would not be big. But as you look at it, Jalen Washington, James Brown are the only 2 players listed at 6'10". Nobody is listed taller, so no 6'11", no 7-footers, and that's it. And then only 4 players are listed at 200 or at greater than 220 pounds. Tyzhaun Claude, 230. Jalen Washington, 235 is the heaviest on the roster, 235. Ven-Allen Lubin, 230. And then Holbrook, the walk-on, is at 230. So really only 3 players that are going to see playing time are listed at 230 or more. And, I don't know how much playing time Tyzhaun Claude's going to get. So only 2 players that are definitive roster or rotation players are 230 and above. Crazy. Like you think about it, Eddie Lampkin, that is transferred from Colorado to Syracuse, is going to be their big. He's 265. That's like, that's DJ Burns territory. Carolina's going to have to figure something out when they want to go up against somebody like that because they just do not have the size, the girth, the heft to match it. And so that is going to be very interesting. Now, another thing, we're looking at the roster here. David Cobb, one of CBS's college basketball writers, put out his proposed, top 5, starting 5 for Carolina basketball. And it's kind of a weird combo for me. It's got some pieces that I agree with, but in totality, no. So here is his proposed starting 5 for Carolina. At point guard, Elliot Cadeau. I'm with you. RJ Davis at shooting guard, number 2. Cool. Got it. Tracking with you. Small forward at the 3 position, Ian Jackson. That's where I'm at right now. So 3 for 3. I'm right with you, David Cobb. And to be fair, that small forward position is where I even start to who's that going to be? Like, it just depends on the lineup and what they want to do. But right now where I'm at, yes, I have Ian. At the center, I'm skipping the 4 because we'll come back to that. At the center position, the 5, he's got Jalen Washington. I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. The 4, at power forward, he's got Ven-Allen Lubin. And that's where we depart. I don't see, I don't have that combination. It's funny. The other 4 are what I have in my starting lineup, but I'm just with Ven-Allen Lubin. I don't know. He could see the starting lineup, but if that's what it's going to be, I think I would actually substitute Cade Tyson at the 3 instead of Ian Jackson. So you get another knockdown shooter because you need it. Here's what David Cobb says about Ven-Allen Lubin. Quote, UNC has a track record of snagging plug-and-play starters at power forward from the transfer portal. Last year it was Harrison Ingram. prior to that was Pete Nance from Northwestern and Brady Manick from Oklahoma, all fit the bill. Now comes Lubin, who averaged 12.3 points and 6.3 rebounds in 26 starts for Vanderbilt last season. He's got 2 seasons of eligibility remaining after starting his career at Notre Dame in 22-23. I disagree with a couple things there. I don't think Ven-Allen Lubin is a no-brainer plug-and-play starter. He might be, but I don't know how it fits with the rest of the personnel. And also, I don't think he will be as productive as Brady or Harrison Ingram were. Maybe Pete. But I don't think I put him in that same lineup with those guys. I think he's going to be a solid, good player for North Carolina. I would love to be wrong about this, by the way. Anytime I'm critical, I'm always hoping I'm going to be wrong. I just like to say what I believe is how things will go. So here's the thing for me. I just don't think this is the most logical starting 5. If it's Elliot, RJ, Ven-Allen Lubin, and Jalen Washington, give me Cade at the 3. If it's Elliot, RJ, and Ian at 1, 2, 3, give me Cade at the 4. I just think those pieces fit better. And so that's why I disagree with this. David Cobb does have a 9-man rotation in totality. Those 5 that he's got starting, plus Seth, Drake, Cade, and Jalen Withers. Seth, Trimble, Drake Powell, Cade Tyson, and Jalen Withers off the bench, with James Brown maybe getting some time here or there. But those 4 were who he slated as his main rotation guys. He didn't put Tyzhaun Claude in. I wonder if that's got to be an oversight. Anyway, that's where I'm at with his lineup. I'm curious on yours, and just curious your thoughts on what we're talking about Carolina not having the heft or size they needed. They're going to have to be shifty. I think that's it, is you got to get out and move and go. But what this does remind me of, both looking at the roster, both looking at David Cobb's lineup stuff, I'm reminded just of how many options Hubert Davis does have, even with Zayden High not on the roster for this year anymore. Still a lot of options, a lot of combinations he could go with, and I can't wait to see what he will actually do. All right, now let's switch back to football. It was the first true road win to start a college football season for Carolina since September 5th of 1992. We're going to unpack that all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Factor. Fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. So why not make today the day that you kickstart a new healthy routine? What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you're always going to have new flavors to explore. So treat yourself to restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like a filet or shrimp, blackened salmon, anything like that. Head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use the code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. Again, that's code lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. This episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits to LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time or you get your money back. Why? Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive right now at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's move and talk some football now. Again, for those of you watching on YouTube, I've pulled up the box score. If you're listening to us, no worries. I'm not going to leave you out. It's just a helpful aid if you want to look at it. Let's start big picture with this thing. Carolina wins 19-17. That missed field goal really upsetting people who had Minnesota on the betting lines because Carolina was favored by 1.5 and they win by 2 to cover. Wow, crazy stuff. Here's the deal with week 1. All you have to do is Jimmy V that bad boy, survive and advance. I know we're not talking about March Madness, and that's where we usually apply that moniker, but baby, that's what you had to do, and that's what Carolina did. Week 1 is a mess. It's atrocious. Rarely is it a beautiful linear thing, and this game was anything but. Everything from starting an hour late because of the storm that was in the area to Max Johnson's injury and Carolina just having to try to figure things out in a new era, a new non-Drake Maye, non-Sam Howell era where Carolina can't just rely on air raid to score 80 gajillion points a game. Carolina had under 300 yards of total offense in this game, and that, friends, is going to be part of probably the new normal, where unless Omarion just has games where he's running absolutely wild or, whatever it is, I think what we saw on Thursday night, at least in terms of scoring output, is more normal than what we're used to. So I think we all got to shift that paradigm. But again, winning in week 1, all you got to do is win. It doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be excellent. It just needs to be a win. And that's what Carolina was able to salvage. Now, were there some things that Carolina was really good at? Yes, absolutely. Were there some things that Carolina was really bad at? Yes, absolutely. Were there things that had some good and some bad? Yes, absolutely. And we're going to get to all of that as we go through the course of unpacking this in the next several weeks. But look, while you might be frustrated, Carolina just got a road win over a power conference team. Florida State couldn't win in week 1. They lost to Georgia Tech over on a different continent. NC State barely got past, I don't even remember who it was they're playing, right? They struggled. SMU picked above Carolina in the polls, barely got out alive last Saturday. So what Carolina did getting this win by a narrow margin, sure. But was it a win? It was. That's what we need. Coach Brown, in his post-game press conference, spoke of his defense and how proud of them he was. It's just one game. One of the things I've been saying the past couple days here is do not overreact to game 1. Do not overreact to week 1. But if we can appropriately react, one of the things I think we'll say is that while the defense had a couple miscues here or there with a couple missed tackles, overall, the defense did quite well. Thank you very much. Coach Brown said, quote, "We played great defense the first half and throughout the game, probably as good as we've played since we've been here. Tough defense, especially against the run." Now, unfortunately for Minnesota, they were without their stud running back, Darius Taylor, right? He was out of this game. But behind that offensive line, I could probably gain about 50 yards if we're being honest, because they are some absolute dudes. And so Carolina rose to that occasion. We have talked about how the defensive line has to step in and step up. And you got guys like Javari Ritzie just going off, who had 3 sacks in this game. Carolina had 5 in total. Carolina had 7 tackles for loss. Amari Campbell getting that punch-out fumble that was so critically important. Had a big-time sack that would have been massive for Carolina that he missed later, but it's because he's got that club and he couldn't grab the jersey and wrap up. So the defense was a critical part of this game. Now, to be fair, the defense, in allowing 17 points, in getting 5 3-and-outs last year in game 1 against South Carolina, allowed the exact same amount of points, 17. Anytime you're under 20, I'm great with that. Remember, one of my bold takes is Carolina's going to average under 25 points allowed per game. Hey, we're off to a great start with that. But also in that game 1 last year, allowed 17, went bonkers on sacks, and then that defense never really fully did that again. So this is one game, and now we got to wait and see if Carolina can string some of these together. And I unlike last year, I don't think we're going to find out for a while, because remember last year, it was South Carolina, then App State, and then Minnesota. So this year, it's not that level of competition again for a while. We got a couple weeks of not that. So we'll keep our eyes on it. But defense, you get probably a B for tonight or for Thursday night, and got to keep building on it. The kicking game. We cannot say enough about how important, not just Noah Burnett. Hear me say that. It wasn't just about the field goals, although that was clearly a critical part of Carolina winning this game. Burnett goes 4 of 4 on field goals, hit from 29, 42, and 45, and 52. The 52, honestly, probably would have been good for 60. He had room to spare on that bad boy. The field goals from 42 and 45 were both situations where Carolina had kind of had a silly play the play before when they just needed to get into position to let him kick, but he did his work. Meanwhile, you know what Minnesota's kicker did. He had the doink earlier in the game and then the miss to end the game. And so what Noah Burnett did was great, but it wasn't just about that kicking. It was about the punts. 3 punts, 51-yard average, a 55 long, and the one inside the 20 that Elijah Huzzy was able to down at the 2-yard line. So Tom, way to go on your punts. Also, kickoffs, Liam Boyd. This is critical as well. 6 kickoffs, had 5 touchbacks, and the one that wasn't, Carolina, I believe, got the ball carried down at the 24 to force a not as great field position for Minnesota. So kicking game, all around, field goals, punts, kickoffs, check. Big win on that. I'm giving that an A. And Coach Brown said about those guys, quote, "Those are the things that win tight football games, especially on the road," end quote. And I know that's just like a little one sentence, but it's so unbelievably true. Just a special teams miscue or mishap here or there, particularly in the kicking game, and you're done. So you love to see that. Obviously, the big question mark, or one of the big question marks going forward, is Max Johnson and his health. Interestingly, we all saw it in the way the knee bent and just is like, oh, that's probably I don't even want to say it because we don't know yet what it is. However, Adam Smith, who does a great job with Inside Carolina, tweeted out later on Thursday evening, quote, "UNC coach Mack Brown tells me injured quarterback Max Johnson's injury is a hip injury, not his knee," end quote. So, our whole live postcast, I was talking knee. We're all talking knee. We assume that's what it was. And so, I mean, I understand and see from that play how a hip injury could be involved. But was it not clear and obvious that there was something with the knee? And so we're going to have to get some clarity on this, find out more from Coach Brown on that. And so Coach Brown, speaking of Max, was also asked, why stick with Mack Johnson in the second half? Because that's what we were all talking about offline, like in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. It was like, I feel like you got to give Connor a shot to start the second half. Maybe let Max go a series, see how he does. And that first series was great. Oh, by the way, because things kind of started to come together. I feel like he got more trust. I feel like Chip Lindsey was calling better plays for him. Good adjustments at halftime there. But Coach Brown, here's what he said why we stuck with Max in the second half. Quote, "We felt like he hadn't been in this offense before. We felt in general that the offense was uptight the first half." So not just Max Johnson, but everybody. Minnesota's a good defense. That's fair. We knew that. We knew this would be a line of scrimmage game. We were having trouble protecting, so we felt like we would adjust to things at halftime and give him some better opportunities. And Max settled down and had more confidence in the third quarter, end quote. And that's fair. And that's what we saw as Carolina dominated the third quarter, allowing Minnesota just 4 offensive plays for 1 yard. And I think they had the ball for 81 seconds, if I remember correctly, in the third quarter. So really, really good stuff there by the offense to keep him at bay. As for Connor Harrell, Coach Brown said a couple things about him. Number one, Connor never pouted about not starting. He was all in. And when he came off the bench, he said, "Let's go. I'm ready to play." And I just got to say, that shows great character from Connor Harrell to, I was not the starter, but now it's my turn and I'm ready to go. And how many times throughout history of football can we think about guys who didn't get the start, that bided their time, and when it was their time, they made the best of it, right? Like, isn't that, if I'm thinking correctly, like Drew Bledsoe gets hurt and here comes Tom Brady and we never look back? It's just things like that. So we'll see what happens going forward. Is it Connor? Is it Jacoby Criswell? Coach Brown said Jacoby will be a factor starting in the morning. Is Max Johnson going to be okay? I mean, we don't have an official diagnosis yet. So who knows? What I saw looked to me to be a season-ending injury. But you just never know, man. The human body is absolutely crazy. One other thing on Connor Harrell, Coach Brown said, quote, the play he made where he looked like he was going to run on the option and stopped and threw the ball downfield to J.J. Jones was a game-winning play. That's who he is, and that's what he can do. And I don't think we saw much of that explosiveness on Thursday night. I think some of that is just the quick change and you're wrapping your brain around what's going on. I think now with the week of prep, assuming Connor's going to start next week, we'll be ready to go and we'll see a different Connor Harrell and we'll see a different package of plays ready to go. Look, we got to keep moving here, but how can we not but talk about Omarion Hampton? He is going to be the bell cow for this team. 30 rushes, over 100 yards, caught all 5 targets thrown his way for 17 yards. Just got to keep this dude healthy. Need more touches for Barlow next game, maybe even for Bullet, to give Omarion's legs a time to, next week as Carolina plays lesser competition, 10 to 15 touches or maybe 15 to 20 touches, 10 to 15 carries next week. Like let's not put too much mileage on those legs. So anyway, big time, crazy win for Carolina. It wasn't pretty. In fact, it was ugly, but it is a win. Carolina's 1-0, and that's all that matters. All right. We've got some new official titles for some of Carolina's coaching staff in basketball, and it's a nice leg up. Plus, the women's version of basketball is loading up this offseason. We'll get to all of that in just a second. Right after I tell you about 5-Hour Energy, go. Just about every day after lunch, I feel tired, man. It's that afternoon lull, or maybe I've been up late recording podcasts and editing podcasts. That's pretty typical for me. So if you're like me, good news. We're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit a wall after lunch most days. Well, why not let a 5-Hour Energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it? Another thing is I've been working on cutting sugar out of my life more and more as I get older and older and older. And so I love that 5-Hour Energy is 0 sugar. Plus, it's got a convenient portable size and is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore: watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. Try them all. And on the site, you even have the option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door. Just go to 5hourenergy.com and get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can even use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. That's only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Also, the code does not work with subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. On Wednesday evening, some news started making the rounds. One of the kind of Carolina social media accounts that just posts stuff, makes fun graphics and post stuff, had posted Marcus Page promoted to assistant coach. So I started getting a lot of messages about like, hey, Isaac, have you heard about this? What's going on? What's happening? Here's the deal with it. Last offseason, the NCAA changed the number of on-court, on-bench coaches that you can have from 3 up to 5. And so Carolina basically is just taking advantage of that. Previously, last year, they had, even though they allowed Coach Pat Sullivan, who's the other one they used to take advantage of that, and Marcus Page to now start being on the bench, they didn't change their titles. So let me go back to last year. Last year, you just had Hubert Davis, head coach, Brad Frederick, assistant, Jeff Lebo, assistant, Sean Maye, assistant. Pat Sullivan's title was still director of recruiting. Marcus Page's was director of team and player development. However, because of the new rules, even though they didn't change their titles, those guys can now be on the bench during games, coaching, doing all that stuff. Well, now what's happened is, that was the other thing is people were like, did somebody leave? Did Marcus take somebody's job? What's happening? Who's going to replace him? All that. It's nothing. It's just literally a title change. Maybe it comes, internally, maybe there's a raise or something like that. But all it is, Hubert Davis still head coach, Brad Frederick, Jeff Lebo, Sean Maye, still all assistant coaches. It's just that now both Pat Sullivan and Marcus Page have also been granted the title of assistant coach. So this is great news. It's cool for these dudes. Very excited for it. At least for right now, nothing else has changed that I have seen or that I have been told or that I have noticed or anything like that. So just keep your eyes out on that. Let's switch to women's basketball quickly, where over the past 7 days, Courtney Banghart's team has grabbed 2 5-star players in the class of 2025. Back on August 23rd, Talia Henderson committed to North Carolina. She's the number 21 player in the class, according to ESPN, number 7 player in the class, according to 247 Sports. She's a 6-foot wing. But then on Thursday, ahead of the football game, number 14 at ESPN, number 17 at 247 Sports, Nyla Brooks, who had previously decommitted from Tennessee after their coaching change, commits to Carolina. She's a 6'1" wing. So Carolina is going to be losing a lot after this season, and in come these highly rated ladies. Great stuff for the Tar Heels. Way to go, Coach Banghart. Keep this thing trucking. Very quickly, as we get out of here, man, it's time to where we're getting to more legitimate weekend whip arounds. We had the football team in action Thursday night, women's soccer, men's soccer, both in action. Carolina goes undefeated on Thursday. Not only did the football team win, women's soccer beats North Dakota at home 3-0. Men's soccer wins over FIU 3-1. Both teams are back in action this weekend. Women against Seton Hall Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network Extra. And then the men are playing on Monday, on Labor Day, at home against ETSU, East Tennessee State University in Johnson City, where my parents live, where Coach Rob's right there in the area. That game is at 7:30 Eastern, also on ACC Network Extra. And here we go, the season openers for 3 other sports this weekend. Field hockey is at Michigan Friday tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern on Big Ten Plus. That's their season opener. They play again Sunday against against Iowa, but it's also at Michigan. That's 11 a.m. Eastern, also on Big Ten Plus. Volleyball, 3 matches this weekend to kick off their season. Today against Cleveland State, 6 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network Extra. That's their season opener. But then Saturday, they host Charleston at 6, also on ACC Network Extra. And then Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern against Western Carolina, also on ACC Network Extra. And then the last thing going on this weekend, cross country, the Charlotte Invitational will kick off their season of competition as well. So y'all, it's all finally happening. It's so great. Let's go. Let's get it. Field hockey, man, go defend that national championship. And Aaron Matson, just keep being a baller. Can't wait to see what happens there. Guys, that's it for this week of Locked On Tar Heels. It's been a great week to be together. Football is rolling. And before you know it, basketball is going to be here. Man, it's just awesome. And I love to see it. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, make sure you do that now so that you don't miss a second of the show. Also, if you haven't hit that bell notification on YouTube, you need to do so, because that's going to let you know when I go live, which we did with the Zayden High News this week, which we did after the football game on Thursday night, and you can just tap right in. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, that's another great way to know when things are going on, because we talk in there all day, every day. There are messages flying right now. I promise you that. That's free to join, and the link is in the show notes. Also, would love to have you join our brand new Locked On Tar Heels Insider program. The link for that is in the show notes as well. It's an opportunity to text directly with me one-on-one, have free access to all of my stats and data and spreadsheets and all of that kind of stuff. So just insider access. It's free for the first 2 weeks for everybody to try it out, test it out. And then after that, it's just $5 a month. That's all it is. It's a great way to support the show if you have that you could spare. It's like buying me a coffee once a month so that we can just hang out and talk and you get access to all my data. All right, guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be back again on Monday to kick off another week. But until then, peace.